Dear colleagues, welcome to the presentation of the partner Slovak Center for Artificial Intelligence Research in Bratislava that integrates researchers focusing on various aspects of artificial intelligence as shown in this slide. In our work, we try to understand the functioning of deep neural networks by studying embedding complexity of learned representations in neural networks. In the original paper that we extended later towards a new paper called Assessment of Manifold Unfolding in Trained Neural Network Classifiers. In an effort to understand how deep neural networks work, we focused on a research question targeting neural network classifiers, how they organize the data representations in achieving the task. Mathematically speaking, a deep feed-forward neural network is a cascade of nonlinear transformations, each composed of linear mapping via weights between layers of neurons and subsequent nonlinearity. In the picture here we see 4 hidden layers in a neural network that we looked at by mapping them into 2D in order to discover the underlying structure. In doing so, we were motivated by the manifold disentanglement hypothesis that was proposed a few years ago, providing a geometrical interpretation of the data mapping process between the inputs and outputs. In our experiments, we used 4 datasets with 10 classes. At the bottom, the 2 datasets that we used in the original work, and later we added 2 more datasets to extend the viability of our results. In measuring the manifold disentanglement hypothesis, we work with an assumption that if the data manifold is more unfolded in high-dimensional space in any of the hidden layers, then it is easier to be mapped into 2D space while preserving the local structure. So we mapped the hidden layer activation vectors, working with models with 100 units in each layer, and we tested various activation functions such as those sigmoid, tangent, hyperbolic, soft sine, and ReLU, and use different mapping algorithms, mostly nonlinear, and different numbers of hidden layers. In the example below, we see 4 different mapping methods, of which the one on the right, TESNI, apparently provided best results by showing discernible structure of clusters corresponding to classes, so we focused on that method in subsequent analysis. And in this picture we see 4 different cases of different activation functions used, where again of these a rectified linear activation function, or ReLU, well-known ReLU, has been shown to work best. Mathematically, what TESNI does is it tries to map the high-dimensional data to 2D, and we can measure the process by the Kullback-Leibler divergence, which is the measure of dissimilarity between the input representations and projected output representations, these vectors. And we did a number of different experiments. Here we show that these results were quite robust, corresponding to all 4 data sets that we tested, and this worked regardless of the number of hidden layers, where the more hidden layers the better for the network. We also looked at the class distributions and their changes across layers, where again these results were consistent with the manifold unfolding hypothesis. In the picture here we see the most complicated case of an 18-layered deep network, where again decreasing value of K-ELF measure points to the fact that across layers towards the output the data become more and more organized or unfolded, such that their discrimination at the output would be facilitated. So in sum, we've seen quite a robust evidence showing that the classification task is enabled by the data manifold unfolding process that works quite robustly across network types and their hyperparameters and data sets. Thank you very much for your attention.